um, an organization known as 180 Shift. We started it earlier this year in January, so late January. But this is just to reach out to the younger generation because I felt like a lot of people weren't reaching out to my generation and focusing on them and then trying to get to learn why they think the way they think and also exposing them to different ideas and then also getting them or helping them learn about different bills that are being passed and why it's important to be aware of what's happening politically and what's going to be happening for the future. But I do that by doing a lot of conversations with people. So I go out and interview people, whether it's on the street, at rallies or protests, or at my podcast that I now have. But I also do videos regarding all the bills that are coming out, and just so people are aware, people my age, which is known as Gen Z. So that's what we've been doing, and I think our biggest video on TikTok currently has 5.9 million views, and we're closing in on 30,000 followers on TikTok, and that's been a few months of work. So I'm really happy to be here and to be able to interview everyone. So I think we can start getting into that now. Okay. So I'm just gonna have each of you just quickly introduce yourself. Tell us about the position you held in school, how long you had it, and a little bit about your experience.
My name's Tracy Schroeder, and I'm a teacher. I've been an elementary school teacher for 25 years. In that time, I've taught third grade and below, third grade, second mostly, and also first and kindergarten. And I've taught at multiple schools in LA Unified School District. And in, I guess we'll just may as well get to it. LA Unified School District, well, I'm one of the teachers who stood on my principles. And when LA Unified required something of teachers that many of us, based on whether it was sincerely held religious beliefs, personal beliefs, I've been removed from the campus for the last, since October of 2021. Nevertheless, I'm standing because I care about the kids. I ran for school board in 2022, and I'm continuing to be a voice so that parents and our community and these kids have a chance with some of the issues that are going on in our schools.
Good afternoon. My name is Raquel Vialta, and I've been an educator for 17 years. I'm a national board certified teacher, which is the highest achievement a teacher can receive. I chose my career when I was 5 years old, and it's been my passion and just a dream come true. And I love working with kids. And like Tracy, I was also removed from the classroom October 2022. Oh, right. I did do virtual. I did virtual for about a year, and so I'm currently on unpaid status. The reason why I've decided to run is because I do have children within the district, and I don't like what's happening in the educational system. I've gone to the board many, many times, and they don't give parents a voice. And so I'm running more towards as a parent, because I think that it's up to us to be bold and stand up and defend our children's education, their right to have just a childhood and innocence, and just going back into traditional core subjects. Oh, I'm running for school board. So voting March 5th, 2024.
Thank you so much. My name is Dana Caruso. I retired from LAUSD as an assistant principal. I was working at North Hollywood High, but I have been working as an interim assistant principal. They really need help. I actually just got a call today from Panorama High that they want me to work starting when the kids come back in August. I ran for assembly in the 46th district last year. It was a real eye-opener. I do have grandchildren who are coming up through the ranks, so I'm very concerned about their education. I'm more of a business person than anything, and I'm very big on statistics. My degree was in statistics, so I pulled out the statistics of the California State exam that all the kids were forced to take. So I just wanted to share some of those numbers with you. As a business person, heads would roll if you had a private business and these were the results of your work. It's disgraceful. As a taxpayer, it's just we're throwing our money down the toilet, and this has to change. There has to be accountability for our kids getting educated. They're pushing them through the system so that their graduation rates are higher. and they're sending them off to these community colleges. And what happens when they get there is they put them on a computer and they test them, and it turns out they're not college material. They have to start taking sometimes ninth grade math, 10th grade English before they can take college courses. So what happens is the kids drop out. There's a 90% dropout of LAUSD kids who go to these community colleges. And college is free. That was one of the big political issues, that all kids who graduate from LAUSD, 450,000 of them, can get a free education in these colleges, and they can't make it. So we're really doing something wrong. I believe in school choice, and I hope you do too, and I think that's the way we have to go.
We were talking about those numbers. Now, I guess we could jump into talking about that. But so we currently are seeing a lot of focus on LGBTQ issues being taught in school or bringing awareness to that. Now, I want to know if that's something that is necessary right now, given that we are seeing all the numbers and that they're not looking so good for our students.
As an administrator, when I first started at North Hollywood High, there was a little girl who was a ninth grader, and she wanted to be a boy. She wanted to try out for the boys' baseball team. She wanted us to change her name in the system. She has two mothers, no father, and the girl was very confused. And the truth of the matter is, the girl needed family therapy. She didn't need to change her name. She didn't need to change her gender. So what does LAUSD do? They can't change your name. That's something only a judge can do. But they do put on her MISA's page that she wants to be known as Michael. So we had to call her Michael for 4 years. She got dressed in the boys' locker room. I said to her, "You really want to go in the boys' locker room?" She was this little blonde kid. "Yeah, I want to be on the baseball team. I want to be with the guys. I want to be a guy." She didn't make it on the baseball team. There's no way in hell she was going to make the baseball team. But for 4 years, she stayed Michael. Before she graduated, she asked us to please put her in the yearbook as a girl. Said, "I've changed my mind. I want to go back to my original gender. Please take it back." Thank God. I don't know if she had any puberty blockers, but thank God she didn't have any surgeries, and it was an easy switch back. So she started in college as a female. But that's my experience, is that these kids are confused. They need therapy. They may have some issues at home. This girl had two mothers, no father. So something was going on there that was causing her to be very confused. But we can't rush to start cutting off body parts and to start giving these kids hormones, things that cannot be reversed. And it's very, very serious, and we have to take it serious. And it's getting to be almost like a social status, like one kid does it and then 5 others jump on the bandwagon. So we really have to watch what we're doing with these children. At Panorama High School, where I was working as an interim assistant principal, they had Planned Parenthood. Any kid could go in and get information on abortions. And they had huge posters that said, "Your parents will not be notified." The state of California says if you're over 11, you don't have to call your parents. You can go have an abortion. We can give you birth control pills. We can give you condoms. We could counsel you on whatever your issues are. And I started taking pictures of these posters because I was running for assembly, and it was appalling. And I also have a 15-year-old grandson in the system, and I said, my daughter would be devastated if he did anything and she wasn't able to find out. And they stopped me from taking pictures. They came in front of me and said, "You can't take pictures of these posters." I'm like, "What are you talking about? This is an office. You're open to the public. I'm the public. I'm coming in. I want these pictures." And they got really upset with me. Fortunately, I got the pictures before they kicked me out. But that's their goal, is to have Planned Parenthood on every single LAUSD high school. So it's just unbelievable.
A lot of spending, per student spending, and increases in per student spending. But if you look at the statistics, most of our students are not reading at grade level. And I'm saying all American students are not reading at grade level or performing at grade level in math. For instance, when I started my virtual class in last year, third graders. Most of them did not know their letters and sounds. I've never seen that before, and it was very, very shocking. And so something has to be done. We need to once again focus on academic course subjects. As a classroom teacher, we don't have a lot of time. We have our minutes are, they give us a certain amount of minutes and how much we're supposed to spend per course subject. And so the reality is we run out of minutes. We can't teach everything we're supposed to teach. And now they're adding additional things that we're supposed to add to our plate. But we need to focus on the students and their academic achievement.
Combining both notes, there's part of the problem is the trainings that the teachers are receiving. It starts with heartstrings. So with our human resources training on, that's where it started in my experience. And so teachers care about kids, but we're told things, and then after the human resources one, which I'm not going to go into the detail on that one, but it was shocking for a lot of us, but we had to watch it alone and answer the questions alone. It was required. And who we talked to about this? That was the beginning. That was actually several years ago. The next step was when they started suicide prevention training. And in that, teachers are told that certain specific students are more likely to commit suicide. And it terrifies teachers to think that that could possibly happen to one of their students. And then lately they started, in the last 2 years, it was called anti-racist training. And we care about our students. And we don't want anybody to feel some of the things that we're told could be happening. But what happens is within that training, it combines with this anti-suicide training, which doesn't sound like the question that you were asking. However, then you're faced with, these are the kids, right, who are, I'm repeating myself now, but most likely to go through that. And so that's where the heartstrings get pulled, but it's masking the bigger issue. These are kids who need help. There's something else too, and I just need to bring it up because it's, in my experience, having multiple students go through at least my grade levels, and not in my own class, but who I knew well, and being brought in by their own parents and celebrated and seeing what's going on. There's a trend of popularity and accolades that families are getting if they're supporting these issues that might not fit their kid, because children are going through developmental stages. My master's degree is in psychology, and I'll tell you, even beginning with my high school psychology classes, we learn that developmentally children grow through stages, and you gently allow them to go through growing, and you provide, support as they grow. And the job of teachers is like what Raquel was saying. It's reading, learn to read, learn to write, learn to do math, and you will grow into a person who can make wise decisions when you're ready.
Now, I guess sort of switching topics a little bit, but talking about helping them grow. I'm sure you have run into many issues with maybe students for acting out or things of that sort. One question that I have is, do you have any disciplinary measures that you can have with students if they bring drugs to school, or let's say a weapon to school, or things like that? Because we often see that today we have there's no police on campus. We're seeing that, but I just want to see if there's any measures that you could take to help protect yourself, but also the students around you.
Yep. Being at the high school, I really see this on a daily basis, and we're not getting the support from the parents on these issues. And what's really sad is when we call a parent in and said, your child was caught stealing, they say, did you see him steal it? Like, are you kidding me right now? This is why this kid is in the state he's in, because you're supporting this negative behavior. I really feel, I have 3 children of my own, but I feel parents have to be held accountable for these behaviors of these children. These are high school, some 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are out of control. I asked a friend of mine who's the agriculture teacher at Grant High School, because I'm an interim teacher, so sometimes a principal will call and say, do you want to work at our school? And I want to know, is it safe? So I'm not going to ask the principal that question. I'm going to ask the teachers. So I said, is Grant High School safe? If I get a call, should I go there? She said, well, the week before graduation, a sophomore stabbed one of our seniors. Stabbed one of our seniors. And I looked up their website. Grant High School had 0 suspensions for last year. 0. And you want to know something else? Every high school I looked up had 0. Grant, Reseda, Taft, James Monroe, North Hollywood High had 0.05% suspensions. That means half of a kid got suspended. So why are they doing this? Well, it's a report card. They have to answer to their district officers. Why did a kid get suspended? Why wasn't that kid counseled? Why wasn't this prevented? And it's also an economic issue. If I'm buying a house and I pull up the Grant High School and I see they had 30 suspensions, I'm not buying a house in that neighborhood. So it becomes economical. Now, the sad part is with the defunding of the police, there still is an entity called school police, but they're not on the campuses. We have to call them and say, a kid's on campus with a knife, or a kid just stabbed another kid. Can you get over here? Oh yeah, I'll be there in 30 minutes. Oh great, I'll put my hand on the wound. We are not trained as administrators to be police officers. I do not have a weapon. I'm 68 years old. I'm not going to get in the middle of 2 teenagers who are beating each other up. So what happens is the kids get hurt. We have kids who have concussions, have stitches, who really get seriously injured because the police aren't there. We always had a school police in an office on campus. We get on the radio, say there's a 412 or whatever the acronym is, and they come running out and they come and they help us. They're there like that with a gun on their hip. Now, if there's a fight, I get on the radio and say, come out to the cafeteria, all administrators, there's a 412. Well, good luck with that. What are they going to do? We have very little power physically and knowledge and training to break up these fights. And it's not just this incident at Grant, because at North Hollywood High, a kid came in with a gun. The last week of school, he wanted to kill his girlfriend. It's not in the news. LAUSD has the best PR group that hide everything from you. You're paying for this school. 12% of your taxes, property taxes, go to LAUSD, and you don't get all the facts. You don't get any facts. If you don't ask, you're not getting anything. And there's many, many reasons why we're in the shape we're in, but I'm telling you, it's got to change. Somebody's going to get hurt, and people are getting hurt.
These things called restorative justice circles, and so we've lost accountability. It's a joke. Students do not, there are no consequences, like you said. And actually, in 2015, there was a schoolyard fight, and I decided to get in the middle of it to try to stop it, and I ended up being hurt. I was bedridden for several months, and till today, I struggle with spinal cord issues. But all that to say, we need accountability, we need protection. Students need protection, and the teachers need protection. This was elementary school. What's going on in the high schools, it's on a different level. We're talking about guns. I know at my son's schools, there was a gun incident. The student was there the next day as of nothing. And so there's no accountability, and something has to be done in order to protect our students and the staff there.
And as I recall, the no suspension rules started, I believe, around 2010, and it's been onward. Back then, I had a student in my class who had a lot of challenges and difficulties, and in the process, I recall, he leaped out of the chair in the principal's office, ran across the desk, kicked some adults in the stomach, and ran out the back door, right? You need care for these kids, and you need to be able to have someone who can quickly, find them and support them. Also, as an elementary teacher, you want them to learn respect and care for each other at a young age, because they just get bigger there's awful things you hear in the news. I've seen in the last year in the news 2 examples of kids getting their faces kicked in. That is beyond unacceptable. And so having at least now, I was going to say having at least something in place to support what's going on, as Dana said, none of us are trained to handle those extreme situations which do come up. On the other hand, there's the big scare that something will happen from outside into a school where kids are trained, to lock, they need to lock down, they need to crawl, they need to, whatever the directions need to be in order to be safe. But my concern also is in the name of safety, that we are losing the protections that we had. And so where is the actual healthy middle ground? That's really what my question is.
Now, I don't know if I'm sure you've probably thought of maybe what you would like to see be put in place at school so you feel safer and also the students are safe. Now, I would like to hear what you would think is a good, or what you would like to see so that safety is restored in the classrooms. Is it school police being on campuses? Is it, I've heard some people want teachers to be armed. So I just want to know your thoughts on those things.
It would be a big mistake to arm teachers. It's just that you go from 0 to 100, some very responsible teachers and some not. So that would be a very bad idea. We need school police back on every campus, from preschool all the way to the continuation schools, all the way. We need to have one officer on each campus, and that's not a lot of money. They're already there. They're already hired. Put them in the schools. Put them on the campuses. The other thing that needs to happen is the administrators need to be in the classrooms as well. You talk to an administrator, how many classes did you visit today? And they're like, well, I'm buried in paperwork. I didn't get out of my office. That's not acceptable. Administrators have to walk through those classrooms. The kids have to see a presence of what the teacher's doing and what are the kids doing. You have a kid who you know is a little off. You want to track him, see what he's doing in this class, see what he's doing in that class, see how he's behaving. Some kids misbehave in one class, and another class they're great. Well, then who owns that problem? A lot of times it's the teacher. So the administrators need to know which teachers are teaching and they have active disciplinary consequences, and which teachers don't. So the administrators can really help. And if you look at the high schools, there's at least 5 administrators on every campus, plus some of them have 13 counselors. So those counselors need to get off their butts and walk through the classrooms as well. These are all credentialed people. Sometimes it's just the presence. If you're there and you're walking through the classrooms, it puts an order in that classroom, and it also supports the teacher. But I really believe we need to engage the parents. The parents have to also be responsible. We can't do in-school suspension. We can't do out-school suspension. We can only do expulsion if somebody really gets hurt. But if a child's doing something, the parent should have to put in hours and sit there with that child or follow that child around one day to see how he's behaving. We don't put enough emphasis on the parenting. We need to have classes for parents. Some parents say, help me, I don't know what to do with him. Well, we should have started in kindergarten. By the time they get to high school, they're bigger than you, and now you're afraid of him. So what are we going to do now? So we really need to get those parents in kindergarten and get them involved in their kids' lives and help them with real skills on how to parent their kids.
Unfortunately, the teacher unions, they're big advocates for defunding the police. And unfortunately, they also train students to be agitators. They take them, like in LA, there's a student deserve. And so they train them on how to be activists, on how to speak out, and how to go to school boards and how to yell at the board about defunding the police. But the reality is that we need the safety, right? We need the protection. We have wonderful men and women who serve as school police, and so have them there. They would be a wonderful resource. They can also be mentors to our kids. If there's a bad officer, then remove them the same way that you remove a teacher or any other staff in the school. but they paint them in a negative light, and the unions are funding this in order to remove them. But we need them, and that they would also be a great asset to our students, just as mentors.
I agree with both voices so far. And in addition to that, the school police trained on the last school I worked at on that campus. I felt very good every day knowing that the school police knew my school. And you know, every now and then there'd be the car parked outside. You pass it, everybody knows this school has been watched, right? You know, for care and protection of the kids. But internally, along with what Raquel was just sharing, there's rhetoric going on among the teachers. And so the opposite voice that I've heard is that, well, the school police couldn't do anything anyway. They're just bodies that can't do anything. And so they're like, they're not real police. And that money, and then they would talk about all the amount of money. But my question for them is, well, now where's all that money going? And how effective is not having them when you see in the news what's going on is so extreme. And as Dana said, that's not even the half of it. There's so much more that goes on every day that at least having a presence could at least have an impact. So
Yeah, I'll have you do closing remarks real quick. But I would also have just one last question. So what is your, what's your advice for parents, and how can they get involved?
First of all, parents should go and visit schools. My daughter, I tell her all the time, just go to the school and tell them you want a tour. And she's embarrassed. Like, you are the taxpayer. You're the boss. Go to the school. Go during lunchtime. See how the kids interact. Or sit outside when there's dismissal and see how the kids behave when they come out. Sometimes it's scary. Kid at Grant got shot coming out of school by a drive-by gang 2 years ago. So visit the schools. Be part of the situation. Be part of the community. Volunteer. Be on the PTA. Go to the meetings. Every school has coffee with the principal at least once a week or once a month. Some have it more than others. But go to coffee with the principals. You'll find that there's 5 parents there if you're lucky. So you can get a lot of attention. You can get your questions answered. It doesn't take a lot of time or a lot of effort. You can't just say, dropping off my son, good luck, and not be participating, because you don't know what's going to happen. You have to be part of that child's life, even more than when they're 5 years old. When they're 15, when they're 5, you have little problems. When you're 15, you have big problems. And some of those problems really could follow those kids for the rest of their life. We deal with vaping. We deal with weapons.
Fires.
Oh,
Alicia just made a comment at San Fernando High School. We had one bathroom open during fire.
yeah, we had to take out the paper towels in the high school because they were making trash fires. The fire was so bad that the windowsill caught on fire, and they didn't want us to call the fire department. They said, you put it out. Really? Now I'm a firewoman? What the heck? The wood, which was very old, was burned. It was charred. It could have started a real fire in that building. And it happens all the time. No more paper towels. So the kids just air dry, and everybody suffers because of maybe 2 or 3 kids who are vandalizing and arson. It's horrible. It really is. And there's no consequences or accountability. When I was growing up, that was a crime. And I don't know why it's not a crime now.
So in addition to the, what you guys are doing here is amazing, to be able to team up and say, hey, we're opposing this. So obviously you guys are all very involved. So continue being involved. In addition to that, I would say, know what your children are learning at school. And it's time that we sort of start homeschooling them and teaching them what we believe. You might learn this, but this is what is the truth. And so teaching them the truth and teaching them, at a young age, like, if you hear this, this is how you respond. And, they're lying to you. And so just teaching them how to counteract and how to defend the truth.
I agree, and I have some other action steps as well. I have a friend whose son over here, just a couple miles from where we're located, was in a classroom where the teacher had a giant banner that shocked her on the wall. Over time, the teacher won her over, And she trusted the teacher even when it came to the sex education that her son would be receiving in the 5th grade this year. And but she never actually attended or watched the video. She just trusted. So I say trust to a point, but also question with a lot of love, because you want the teacher to want you in that classroom. You want to ask questions, but don't just take a blanket statement. This is your kid, right? And so on that note, there's a lot of things going on, and I follow parents protecting the educational rights of kids, PERC. That's a great way to get information of what's going on in schools at both the state level and also locally. That's one way to at least be involved. We've all got to be people who show up to as many of these meetings as we can. I know people work. There's a wonderful group. You might have heard them on the Hispanic Republican Club about a week or two ago. It was Moms for America. They had some wonderful advice that they shared in a group where they said, basically love your representatives, but remind them that they're representatives. Love them by sending a nice card, sending a photo of your family, and thanking them for taking on the job of representing, and then remind them what they need to represent for you. So school officials, the school board, they need to hear from you, and also our state officials, they need to hear from you too. There's a big one coming up, Assembly Bill 1078, where they're trying to make a change where our local school boards are supposed to not actually make their own decisions. They're supposed to follow what the state is doing. And I don't know if you've been following what our state superintendent has been standing for, but he's been hiding behind deceptive language of safety and privacy. And that's kind of heartstrings language. Oh my, these poor kids. No, they're hiding what parent fundamental and foundational rights should be able to protect and know what's going on. So parents and community members, stay vigilant. LAUSD's first school board member meeting this year is August 8th. It's a Tuesday. The first one's at 9 a.m. Everyone needs to practice signing up, calling in, or just watching it until you're comfortable doing it. They need to hear, and not just emails, because they get millions of them. Write personal letters with your hand, right? And tell them what you stand for. It's reading, writing, math, so that your child can learn to learn. The rest of it is family business. And so that's just a couple of 2 cents, some things we all can do. I would love to see you all at the school board meeting, August 8th. There's a bunch of us planning to show up. There's going to be some teachers, and we need everybody, not just on that date, but every Tuesday, right? Some voice for families to speak truth, because there are people who are being paid to show up every week. You see those kids, and they look like the youth movement, but they're paid to be there. And there's others too. Most voices who show up are showing up for themselves, for their own kid, but there needs to be someone to say, wait, this is wrong, blanket. It's like the whole spectrum. So anyway, that's it. Thank you so much.